Are you dealing with debt, struggling to build savings, or thinking about starting a business? Maybe you already have, but your income is not consistent yet. Today, we're breaking down a step-by-step financial game plan to move from struggling to secure. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or just tired of living check to check, these strategies today will help you to take control of your financial situation and build a foundation that you can then grow from. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and today I want to help you to move from struggling financially to secure financially. And to really get there, first we got to look at the picture, the reality of the situation. The reality is a lot of you listening might have student loan debts. Right now, there's high cost of livings. You might have a high mortgage payment because your interest rates are so high. You might have a lot of child expenses and child costs, right? Your grocery bill has went up over the years. You have transportation costs. The price of gas has shot up. You might have a lot of expenses that you're dealing with right now, and debts as well, right? Student loan debts or other types of debts. You might have inconsistent income right now. You're between jobs. You're looking for a new job because the current job is not paying you what you believe you're worth and should be getting paid. You're starting a business. You have a side hustle and it hasn't quite taken off yet. Or you're an early entrepreneur. And all of this can tie back into maybe you don't have enough savings or investments, because you don't have enough, or you think you don't have enough to be able to put aside to invest or save because you have so many expenses and not enough income. So we're going to be looking at some of that today, as well as the mindset challenges, because the mindset and the reality of it is you might feel behind in life with where you are right now, right? When you look back in the previous years, maybe a decade ago, you thought by this age that you are now, you would be in a certain situation, but you're not yet. And we'll talk about that a little bit, because you might also have anxiety about money. You might have anxiety about the future and your financial future. There's overwhelm with the idea of where do I even start, because there's so much going on, right? A lot happens in life. You got this to deal with, you got that to deal with, you got the kids, you got the mortgage, you got your business and the whole 9 yards, right? Your job. And it can be a lot. But hopefully today's episode helps you to conquer this mindset and to give you a game plan to move forward, at least a direction to move in. Here's the truth about all of this. Coming close. You're not alone. You are not alone. There's a lot of people, a lot of us who are facing these similar situations. So you are not alone. But here's the thing, the key point about this. Inaction is not an option. Inaction, not taking action, letting everything be as it is not an option. It's time to really take control and to build a plan. A quick story. When I was, 21 or 22, I decided to go full-time into one of my business ventures, and it was the wrong time to do it. Long story short, I saved up a little bit of money. I had about $6,000 in savings, and it felt like it was enough at the time, but I didn't really look at, is it enough, right? Because what's important with this entrepreneur journey, for any of you out there who are on this journey or starting this journey, or you've started but you're kind of hemming and hawing a little bit, it is important to have a financial safety net, if you will. They say 3 to 6 months of expenses. I'll say maybe 6 to 8 or even 12 months, because it might take you that long in your business that you're starting to get some type of revenue coming in consistently. So you got to make sure you can take care of yourself for this 6 to 8 months, maybe 12 months before you can get revenue coming in. Because for me at the time, going back to when I was 22, I had some money put aside, but was I taking the right actions consistently over an extended period of time to get me to where I wanted to be? No, I was not. I put in action up front, but then I didn't see things pan out the way I thought it should within a short time frame. So then, of course, energy drained and so on. I ended up driving Uber for a little while. Now, nothing wrong with that per se. However, I'm just trying to reframe your mindset to say, okay, don't just dive into entrepreneurship and leave your job when your job is really a source of income and you're really your biggest investor right now for your business. Your job right now is your biggest investor for your business, because without that income, what is funding this business of yours that you're starting? Nothing. You don't have anything funding it. And as soon as you leave that job, now you only have whatever savings or investments you have to fund that business and get it off the ground. So you're really cutting off a source of income, let's call it a stream of income, when you leave your job to go into entrepreneurship full time. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing a little bit of my story and some options or perspectives on it. right? Your job is your biggest investor for your business. So until this business replaces your income, you might want to think about potentially staying there. So again, the point here is make sure you have a game plan for what actions you're going to take regularly and for how long you're going to do it in your business before you decide if this is really for you or not for you, and before you leave your job. And that being said, of course, the other piece to this is make sure you have a safety net financially. Did you save 6 months, 8 months, 12 months of expenses so that you can still fund yourself or take care of those expenses while you're building your business? How I was able to save $6,000 at that time, 22 years old, was, of course, I had a job, but I was saving about $500 a month, which was high, low, perspectives, everything. But it was a decent amount at the time to save, and it got me to $6,000, right? Because the growth on it and so on, I think within maybe 10 months or so, I was at $6,000. And again, for me at the time, it was a good start, but the action I was putting forward wasn't enough. So all I'm saying here is that $500 I was saving every month was automated. I think it was $250 bi-weekly that I was putting in, right? Every paycheck, automated. I don't see it come out. It just goes out into this investment account. So you can do the exact same thing. And it doesn't have to be $500. Maybe you feel like you can only afford $50 right now, a paycheck or a month. Start there. Start with what you have. If it's 25, okay, cool. That's what you have. Let's do it. If it's 100, if it's 5,000, cool. Let's do it. Because that will ultimately help you to get that safety net in place that when you're ready, you can make the jump, you can make the leap. And really quickly to this point, as you start to make income in your business, whether you're still working at your job or not, or even for those of you who are not entrepreneurs and you just have your work, your employment, and you're growing in your career, getting more income, you want to avoid this thing called lifestyle inflation. For any of you who've been following me, you've heard me talk about this. Lifestyle inflation is, say you make $3,000 a month. Your expenses currently are maybe $2,800 a month, right? $2,800. So you're saving $200. But the next month, right? Let's say you get an increase. You get $1,000 increase per month. Now you're making $4,000 a month, but you increase, right? So your expenses end up being $3,800 a month. So you're still only saving $200 a month because you decided to inflate or increase or elevate your lifestyle because you got more income. But that only leads to you living paycheck to paycheck. That doesn't help you because you're not putting that extra towards investments or towards savings or towards those goals you have, towards that business that you have. So it's always important to, yes, you can increase your lifestyle a little bit, say $200, right? So instead of going from $2,800 a month to $3,800 in terms of your expenses, maybe bring it to $3,000. So that extra $1,000 you're still saving, right? You're investing it. And that is going to help you tremendously because now you're avoiding this lifestyle inflation thing and you're not going to live paycheck to paycheck if you continue to operate in this manner. Because if you don't operate this way, essentially you're starving your business, right? You leave your job and go into entrepreneurship full-time without having a stable foundation or savings put aside, you're starving your business. Because how are you going to hire? That job might be what helps you to hire your assistant, which you need to send out the emails and contact the people for your business. It might be the income you need to hire the person to run ads for you. But if you leave that job, now you've got nothing. You've got no way to hire this person. There are other ways you can do it, great. But for the sake of this example, without that job, you've got nothing. So again, let that job be your biggest investor for your business. So we talked about saving and investing a little bit. Another piece here that I mentioned earlier is your debts. You might have debts and it feels like your neck is barely above water. Some of your nose is just barely above water. And I've been there, and I'm here to tell you, you'll make it out as long as you come up with a system, a strategy, and you follow that system or strategy until completion. And then here's the thing. When you're in a hole, what they tell you to do when you're in a hole, the first thing you want to do is stop digging. Stop digging. So you're in this hole of debt, stop digging. Stop using your debt. Stop using your credit. Stop building up debt. And then we can look at a game plan to put the dirt back in the hole, let's call it, so that you can climb out and continue your walk. And some of the strategies we can use to do that are the avalanche method. And in a nutshell, I think I've covered it in a previous episode, but in a nutshell, the avalanche method is You want to start from the highest interest. So say you have a credit card where you're paying 20% interest. You want to start paying that one off because you have a credit card 20%, you got a line of credit that's maybe 10%, and maybe a car loan that's 3%. So you want to start with the highest interest debt first, which is, in this case, that credit card, 20%. Pay that off because that is what's costing you the most money. It's costing you 20% interest every year. And it's compound interest, which we're not even going to get into. But it is costing you 20% interest. So pay that one off first. And say you're paying 100 towards these other debts every month, right? 100 for your line of credit and 100 for your car loan. Say you're paying 500 to pay off this credit card. So you pay off that credit card. Once you finish that, you take that $500 now with that paid off credit card and you move that $500 payment to the next highest. So instead of just paying 100 now on your car loan, or rather your line of credit, you're now paying 600 on your line of credit. And then once you're done paying that off, you add that 600 to the car loan to now pay 700 on that car loan to pay everything off, right? So it's an avalanche. It gets bigger as it goes down, essentially, the payments. There's also the snowball method, which is where you start with the lowest outstanding debt first, regardless of interest. And then you pay off that one, you move on to the next biggest outstanding debt, then the next biggest one. Similarly, your interest, or rather your payments, compound, of course, as you pay those off. I vouch personally for the avalanche method instead of the snowball, but at the end of the day, the choice is yours. You can look at your debt situation and see what makes the most sense for you. But paying off that debt, I'm telling you, it's like the debt monkey is off your back. You feel a sense of financial security and financial relief because now instead of all the money you're making going towards paying these debts, you can keep that money in your pocket. But as I was saying earlier, the important thing is to stop digging. Once you get out of this hole, the idea is not to go and dig another debt hole so that you're back in debt and you're back in the same situation and you still got that financial monkey on your back. You got to get it off. You got to live in that financial relief, that financial freedom, let's call it, or that sense of financial security. Because when you're in debt, you have a sense of financial insecurity. And one of the biggest ways to get that financial insecurity off your back is to pay off that debt. And it's a great feeling. And once you do that, you follow these strategies and you do that, I'm telling you, send me a DM, send me a message, put a comment down below. Or if you've already done that before, leave a comment for other people so that they can see and understand how relieving it is. So that is how you can avoid the debt trap, right? Get out of debt and stay out of debt. I'm not saying don't use debt, don't use credit, but you've got to, first of all, adopt the mind of discipline, and then you can start using it for what you need to use it for to build and create more wealth for yourself, as opposed to using it for liabilities. You can use it for assets. That's a whole other conversation that we're not covering on this episode, but maybe soon. Do you have a child in your life who loves to color? A niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, a neighbor? Remember when we grew up, we did A for apple, B for banana, and so on? There's something new in town. It's going to change generations financially. It's called Money Magic, ABC. This is a financial coloring book. They get fun pictures to draw, to color in. But instead of A for apple, we got A for asset. We got B for budget. We got C for crowdfunding. This is going to, while they're enjoying themselves, teach them the financial terms that we didn't know growing up. The financial terms that some of us still don't know. Financial literacy is key and vital. And instead of learning A for apple, learning A for asset at such a young age, it's going to change their financial mindset into the future. They'll be able to start off ahead of the ball, right? Ahead of the game. So go ahead and get yourself a copy and give this gift. Give the gift of financial literacy to your children and the children in your life today. Go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. And the next thing is we want to make sure we start investing, again, even on a tight budget, because as you're paying off these debts, it's important to know you still should invest. You still should save. If you don't have that emergency fund in place, you want to save. As you're paying these debts, it might seem like a stretch. Still put away what you can for investments, your 10% or whatever the case might be. There's a very powerful book, Richest Man in Babylon. George S. Clason is how I pronounce his name. Maybe I'm wrong, but Clason. And Richest Man in Babylon. It's a powerful book. There's 5 scrolls, if I'm not mistaken, in that book. And there's some principles, again, throughout the book. One of the things that they mention in the book is, and I might get the numbers wrong, but 10% is for you in terms of investments, for savings, for the far, far future. Not even for you today, but for you decades down the line and for your future family. Even if you don't have a family right now, but you want one, that's what that's for. 20%, if I'm not mistaken, can go towards paying down debts. So again, just a general guideline. If you don't have any type of framework, utilize that framework right there. Look it up, Richest Man in Babylon, read the book, and maybe I'll link it below, but I'm telling you, it's a great resource. And again, you want to make sure you invest as you pay down those debts. Don't get stuck in the debt trap of just paying the debt, because then when you're out of it, what do you really have? You want to make sure you're also investing and saving at the same time. And again, automate it, right? We talked about dollar cost averaging on the last episode, I believe it was. Dollar cost average, regular payments, right? Every month, every week, every 2 weeks, because that helps you to mitigate or lower your losses, your risk, and potentially increase your gains. Plus, now you're building it up. When you look back on it a year later, you won't even realize that you saved that much or you invested that much, because it was just automatic. And for any of you who might be newer to investing, you can dollar cost average into a TFSA. If you're in the States, maybe a Roth IRA or something along those lines. Right? I'm not telling you which account to get. It's all dependent on your situation. Well, those are some examples, right? TFSA, of course, you put money in, you take it out tax-free, and you get the growth tax-free. You can even do index funds, ETFs, right? And those are lower cost investments that you can utilize for yourself. You can get dividend funds, dividend stocks, where the companies now pay you a surplus of their reserves, dividends, right? TD, whichever other bank or company that does it, you can look into those things that help you build your investments, to build your assets over time. Because paying off that debt is important. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Paying off that debt is important, but investing at the same time is also important. Because if you miss the market, if you miss the chance for compound interest by not investing, you're missing potentially quite a bit of wealth. And the thing about that piece right there is, as an entrepreneur, you still need some type of retirement income. You still need something for retirement. Yes, I understand we're setting up businesses that are hopefully going to be passive and pay us. But still, worst case scenario, you want to have something put aside for that retirement. So where's it going to be? That's why I just went through that. You can put it into some of these locations or places, investments, to build that retirement for you and to hold it there in the meantime, right? So don't get so much stuck on later, let's say. Don't wait for later, but do it now. Because if you do it now, the future you will thank you. As an entrepreneur, I know you can get stuck on the idea of building multiple streams of income, and that's important. However, how you go about it is vital and important. And we'll talk about how this kind of ties in a moment, but the reality is your job, again, is a source of income, right? It is a stream of income. And that's arguably, you could say it is, it isn't. But at the end of the day, it is something that's bringing you income, right? Don't cut that off and go straight into entrepreneurship to start from scratch making nothing. And then you're going to give yourself stress. Some people operate where once their back is against the wall, they will pick up and they will push forward and they will break down those walls. Great. But still, it's important to have a savings in that case, right? Those 6 to 8 months or 12 months, like we talked about in the beginning of this episode, for worst case scenarios. If you want to give it to a spouse or friend to hold worst case scenario, sure, you can do that. Whatever you got to do to set yourself up to win. But again, you want to make sure you build those streams of income and don't cut off a stream without having another one. But that being said, honestly, in this day and age, I don't know if one job is enough for most people. Housing prices skyrocketed. And I believe they're going to go up again real soon. Don't quote me, but I believe they're going to go up real soon again, because interest rates are way down and housing prices are kind of lagging behind. Now, that being said, having some type of side income or business is somewhat ideal in this life. Right, in the current economic situation that we're in, and for a lot of us at least. So what is a side hustle blueprint? What can you do to really start that side hustle or that business for yourself? First of all, identify your skills. And I've heard people say it this way, and I've loved it, and I've been using it ever since, but what comes easy to you, that's hard for most? What comes easy to you that is hard for most? There's something you do so well without even realizing it that somebody else may look at it and say, how do you do that? And for you, it's just like, how do I do what? Because you didn't even think about it. You didn't even know what they're talking about. And that thing right there, that is your unique selling proposition. That could be your gift. That is something, a skill that you do so well that you cannot monetize. So identify your skills, validate the market demand. And for this, what you can do is put something out there that is very low cost, your MVP, minimal viable product, and see how the market responds to it. What Dropbox did when they first came up with this concept of file storage online, right? And I think they were the first to do it. I might be mistaken, but kind of like a OneDrive file system, right? For anybody who's unfamiliar. But Dropbox, what they first did was they created a concept video. They didn't have the product created, but they created a concept video and they put it into blogs and different posts online to see what kind of feedback they can get. And the feedback they got was amazing. So of course, Dropbox was created, and then OneDrive and Google Drive and all these other places where iCloud, I think it's called, all these other technologies were created somewhat based off of what Dropbox did. So again, they just created a video, which cost them very little money, I'm sure, compared to actually creating the product, and time, not just money, but also very little time, minimal viable product. And they released it to see how the market responded, and they got a great response. Hence they ended up creating the product. So again, what is that minimal viable product that you can create, right? That helps you to validate the market and potentially build a list. So that being said, a minimal viable product, you start small and you scale small, right? And ideally, honestly, the best way to go about it is to, what are some ways that you can build passive income? Because maybe you love your job. Maybe you love what you do. Maybe you don't really want to start a business. And it could be a lot. It could take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, which is what I tell a lot of my mentees. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, entrepreneurship. I know the media kind of pictures it that way or paints that portrait for you. It is not all rainbows and butterflies. There are some tough, rainy, stormy days, but there are also a lot of sunny days. And that being said, when we make sure we structure things the right way, if you are, let's say you love that job, you don't want to spend too much time on this side income, create passive income. So passive income, for anybody who's unfamiliar, I've always given this example. Say you build the front door for Tim Hortons or Starbucks, depending on where you are in the world. That door opens and closes so many times in a day. You build the door, you put it up, you knock in the hinges, you weld it, whatever you got to do. And that door opens and closes. So many customers come in and leave, but every time that door is used, let's say you got paid $5 or $1 every single time that door opens. You did something once. You built it once. And every time it's used, you now get paid for it. That's passive income. And I know a lot of you would probably like that. So what are some products or things you can create that will give you passive income? Ebooks, as an example, right? Courses, a guide, right? A journal, however you want to go about it. But there's so many different sources, let's say, or products or services that you can create that is a one-time thing. You create it once, put it out there into the market after checking that market demand, and then you're going to get paid on it every single time that it's used. Passive income. So you still get to work your full-time job, still get the perks of the job, still get to be in that environment that you love, but you now also have passive income coming in where finances are taken care of. And it may not be just one product. You might have to release a few products to do that, but at the end of the day, that is an option for you. Affiliate marketing is another example of this. And you can get an affiliate link. There's some in the back of my book if you want to check those out as well, Wings of Abundance, but there's some in there that you are going to benefit from because maybe you get a discount as somebody who's signing up using my referral link or my affiliate link. But then there's also, I get a benefit from it because I shared it with you. So it's a win-win situation. You can do affiliate marketing. You can do dividend investing. Again, passive income because you're getting paid based off of TD or whichever other company getting reserves, a surplus in reserves, and paying you a dividend from it. You didn't really do much but invest with them. You gave them some of your money. They gave you something back, right? And the focus on this, it needs to be a focus on scalability. Not necessarily a focus on right now, just a one-time thing, but a focus on scalability. How can I scale this thing? So again, you got a book. You can come up with a workbook to go along with your book, right? You can come up with a course to go along with your book. Again, the options are endless, right? Multiple streams of income, to go back to what we talked about earlier, based off of this one thing and focus of creating passive income to actually help people. That's the focus, to help people. So it's not about trading time for money. It's about helping people and building something that's scalable. So to conclude, you want to make sure you build a safety net, right? Build that financial safety net before you take that leap, that jump into entrepreneurship. For some people, they love to figure it out as they go, and that's wonderful. As an entrepreneur, technically, that's the way to go. Figure it out as you go. However, you still want to put certain things in place, and my recommendation would be to make sure you have that emergency fund. Because you might have a family, you might have kids, you might have mortgage payments, you might have rent payments, a bunch of different situations that you got to make sure you are taking care of. At the very least, your family is taken care of because of this financial safety net you put in place, even if you are going to take a chance on yourself, which I highly respect, and go into entrepreneurship. So build your safety net, pay down debts with your strategy, start investing consistently over a good period of time, right? Consistently. And honestly, I don't even want to say a period of time, because when it comes to investing, it should be something you do regularly for the rest of your life, for the most part. Until you are taking a income from it, invest regularly for the rest of your life. Now, create multiple streams of income. Just a quick reminder for your mindset. It's not about where you start. It's about taking the next step. So you could start from square one. Great. Don't look at people who are on square 50. Don't look at people who are even on square 10. Look at your next step, which is square one, or square two rather, right? You started from square one. Square two is your next step. Don't focus on people who are on square 5, square 10, square 100. That'll throw you off and oftentimes lead you to thinking what we talked about in the beginning of this episode, which is, I'm not where I should be. I want to give you some encouragement. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Right now, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. I'll put it that way. Not where you're meant to be, but where you are supposed to be at this time. When you start to move and take action, instead of just hoarding all this information that you have, then you will start to move where you are meant to be. But right now, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. But we're all just waiting for you to take action so we can see how wonderful, let's say, your gifts are. See what you have to offer the world in that case. Because you have a lot to offer. It's just a matter of whether or not you take that step. You release that book. You release that song. You release that movie. You write that script for that movie. You create that business with that product or service that's going to change lives. So again, you are where you're supposed to be. We're all just waiting for you to get to where you're meant to be. So don't get so stuck in, I am not where I am supposed to be. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Now show us where you're meant to be. I wrote a book for you, and it's called Wings of Abundance, your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow. One thing I like to talk about is the financial map. There's 2 points on any map. One is where you are, and the next one is where you want to go. This book, this strategic guide, will help you to determine where you are and where you want to go, and will also help you to bridge the gap. We talk about money mindset. We talk about the application of all the information that you know about finances and all the information that's in this book for you. There's resources in the back of the book. There's bonus information in there. We talk about how to overcome debt, how to build wealth, generational wealth. There's so many different strategies in here that you can utilize for yourself to get you to where you want to be financially. So again, if this is something that sounds interesting to you or anybody you know, because it's written in a language that even teenagers could read it, go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. So my quick call to action for you. First of all, I appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully this episode was helpful for you, but your next step, what is your next step financially to reach towards that financial freedom and security that you want in life? Put it in the comments, send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. And again, if this episode was helpful for you, send me a DM, send me a comment, drop some feedback. Let me know if this is helpful to see what exactly is helping you so that we can dig into a little bit more. All right. And share this episode with somebody that can use it. Because again, financial security, everybody wants financial overflow. How do we get that? We share information with one another. We build a community so that we can hold each other accountable. We read books like Wings of Abundance and other financial books that can help us to get the information we need and then take action and have our accountability partners hold us accountable. All right. So thanks for stopping by. Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.